Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another RVA match analysis. This for week number 170, believe titled Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, as you can see down there in the right-hand corner. This week, I am going up against, well, this is the third round of the night, and I am playing Water Fire Crystals, Burning Wet Crystals, as I like to call it. When John has joined us here, my opponent is on a little Samurai Slamurai. This is my opponent's second turn of the game. First turn, he just pitched 3 to put out Tenzin. I know he got a Samurai off of it. And then I put down an Oracle and a Samurai. So I got my colors fixed. I've got 2 lovely crystals. Yeah, my opponent also had just attacked me. He put that Sarah into damage. Part of me was like, oh, darn, wouldn't have minded seeing that Sarah. He's going to slap down 2 Samurais himself. So we've got equal board states, although he's got the Tenzin and I have 2 crystals. Are 2 crystals equal to a Tenzin? No, probably not. Gets a great reveal there. Can get whatever the heck he wants. I believe he opts to just get one of the backups. He's like, oh, that's fine with me. I'll just keep curving out. Don't mind if I do. So this match will be very it. So what I decided to do on my turn is I put out Ramada off of the 2. I didn't have another backup to curve into. 2, I wanted to get the Tenzin off the field. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't permanently deal with it. It does also get me a crystal, which, hey, that ain't bad. But it was the only thing. Okay, so I did have the backup. I just wanted to get rid of the Tenzin. That's what it was. I didn't want the Tenzin to keep getting him value. Now, again, Ramada's a very temporary solution. I know he can just slap it down again. But if he does, knowing he's going to be on 5 in hand, you know, he's going to go down to 2 in hand and then probably 3 if he gets something off of the Tenzin. So for me, I was like, that's fine. I don't want it to sit there and get value. I didn't have my Bahamets. I didn't have anything that was going to just outright kill it. So Ramada was the best I could do. Unfortunately, he's like, all right, well, forget the Tenzin. I'm just going to go into some backup curving, which is what he opts to do. And then he's going to pass it back to me. And on my turn, I'm just going to attack with Ramada, put a Heian into damage. I'm absolutely happy to see that. Heian's a card I don't want to deal with. So that's one less Heian to worry about, which makes me very happy. Again, I don't have another here. I don't have another backup to carve out with. Otherwise, I absolutely would have. What I opt to do here, I don't have Amaterasu or anything, but I do have Yuzuki. I'm going to play Yuzuki out here. And the reason I did Yuzuki is because, well, this is a fire-based deck. If he tries to drop Cyan or Squall or any of that stuff, if he even drops one of the Samurai to try to nuke me. Oh, we had to do a little catch here. He didn't get the Samurai back from the break zone when Tenzin went back to his hand. So we just caught that. So he picks up the Aroha that was in there. But yep, so I will put down Yuzuki. I'm like, okay, this is good. Even if he has, you know, Yuzuki's just going to protect me. Now, the only downside of that is that I said, well, he doesn't have Kuchaspel. As far as I know, he might not even play it. The only thing that he can punish me with here is Adelard. Because Adelard will just make Yuzuki entirely invisible. As long as he doesn't have Adelard, I'm feeling pretty good. Guess what? Yeah, he's got Adelard. Not only does he have Adelard, he plays out for the Squall as well. And he still has enough, without dumping that last card from hand, to tap 2 fire. Adelard double the ability. Now Squall's going to cleave for 8. And unfortunately, my Yuzuki does absolutely nothing. So he very, very well punished me. I suppose I could have just sat on the backups. Again, I didn't have like a summon to cast off of this. So the CP would have gone to waste. I would have been saying, hey, I'm not going to use 3 CP this turn. I opted to do Yuzuki. I didn't have to overpay for it. I could play for it exactly on curve. And again, my thought process being, well, as long as he doesn't have Adelard, Yuzuki's going to stop anything else he does. Fortunately for me, he's got Adelard. This turn, despite facing what looks like a brutal beating incoming, I decide I'm only on 2. Yeah, he can potentially surprise me with Heian, but I just need to, you know, I need to curve out. I actually draw the Sarah here, which is great because I go, oh, good, I can play the Sarah. Then I can go get out Princess Sarah and still play that. I'll be on 5 backups. I'll be ready to roll. The other thing is, too, with an Adelard on the Squall and the Squall, with Adelard and Squall on the field, any forward I put out there is just going to get demolished. I don't remember what forward I had in hand. I know I had 1, but again, I was like, well, what's the point? It's just going to get run over, so might as well just curve out to 5, which I'm able to do. His turn, he's going to attack with Squall. There goes Kuchaspel, which luckily I don't really need it in this match. He doesn't have any kind of protection. I need him to not have it, right, on the verse side. And an Oracle. He hits so many backups. Like, he hits my one Sildra, so potentially a backup Searcher. He hits the Sarah, he hits the Kuchaspel, and he hits the Oracle. And at the time, a part of me was like, oh, geez, well, they run all my backups. But it really ends up being a blessing because I only run 15 backups in this list anyway. I've already got 5 down on the field. There's 3 less dead draws I'm going to have, especially because I've got to be careful. This is Samurai's. He can explode out of nowhere, so I've got to kind of methodically put my turns out here. So what I opt to do is I put out Lena, and I'm going to skip ahead here because he wasn't 100% sure how Lena worked in regards to Amaterasu, because he does want to Amaterasu it, which he ends up doing. But again, he wasn't, he was like, so wait a minute, how does it? It's 2 separate auto. I was like, yeah. So eventually he decides to Amaterasu the 3 crystal, or the double crystal trigger, the one where you pay 2 crystals and then you can get back a 3 cost. But because they are thankfully 2 separate auto abilities, or technically even 4 separate auto abilities, I'm still allowed to get a 2 cost back from the break zone. I think I just opt for Gao here. Yeah, I just get Gao for the crystals. I have an Amaterasu in hand, so again, I'm thinking, well, I can at least stop one of these. I can stop the Squall, or I can stop the Cyan. He's thinking he's just got game here. He's like, he was saying that out loud as he's talking through his turn. He's like, I'm pretty sure I've just got game because you just bump the Squall, attack with Squall with the Adelard, wipe out my only blocker, and then just go 1, 2, 3, game's over, right? So that's what he's anticipating. He's going to pump right there. Go into combat. Here comes the Squall, except guess what? That is also an auto ability, so I am happy to go Amaterasu. You have been cancelled. Amaterasu will take out Squall. Now, unfortunately, he does still have a total of 5 Samurai. Adelard is going to double that damage. My Princess Sarah backup is water, so I can bump Gao by 1,000, but with the Adelard, it's not going to be enough, and I have nothing left in hand to stop it. So yeah, I was hoping, I was like, if he puts out Hien, I remember thinking that if he puts out Hien here, I'm just toast. But I think he actually pitched Hien when he used the Amaterasu on my turn, and that made me feel pretty, I was like, okay, I think I should be safe. Like, if he's got the third one, he's got the third one. But so he's going to go in. He will cleave Gao off the board. I don't think... Yeah, I hit another backup, another move. But again, hey, it's dead card at this point anyway. And he hits a burst. It's just Gao, though, so it gives me a crystal, and John was mentioning on commentary at this point. I mean, my crystals are locked and loaded. I've got 5 crystals sitting there over on the edge. And I just have nothing to spend them on. The one Lena got canceled, so I barely got to use them there. And I won't lie, feeling pretty bad at this point because I'm basically in top deck mode. Yes, I had a single card in hand, but I'm just drawing for my life. I don't even remember what that card was, but I knew it wasn't anything great. I haven't seen Glaciella. I'm halfway through my deck. I'm on 26 cards left. Haven't seen Glaciella. And so I'm just in fight for my life mode of like, well, I don't know what to do. As a matter of fact, I'm almost positive I don't have a forward here. The good news is I do have 5 backups, so whatever I get, I can pay for it as efficiently as I'm able to. I'm pretty sure I just pass here. Yeah. Or no, I put out Palom was the only thing I had. Granted, Palom's going to get cleaved into Oblivion, but I thought it might be relevant. You could argue that I could have just not put out Palom, but here's the thing. I'm planning to kill, because I do have Bahamut in hand, so I'm planning to kill Cyan and Adelard before they can attack, and so my reasoning was, well, if I can do that, then Palom can stick around. Maybe Palom can start getting enough counters to actually potentially be a threat. That would be awesome. Of course, he's not going to let me off that easily. He actually, I believe he uses one of his backups here, yeah. So he uses the Samurai backup. Oh, that's what he does. So he gives Cyan that Samurai boost, which means it's going to do 1,000 extra damage. It also loses 1,000 because now there's one less Samurai on the field, but nonetheless, he's happy. He's fine. Like, nah, it's cool. I've just got it. Oh, and that was the reason why. By cracking that Samurai, he now has 7 in the break zone, so he wanted to get the Samurai online. And so clearly he's trying to like, okay, I'm just going to get rid of your forward. I don't want any more shenanigans. So here comes this samurai. He now has exactly 7 in the break zone. I have no way to interact with this break zone, unfortunately. But what I do have in hand is Big Bad Bahamut. I think I ping Adelard on the way out with the Palom, but it doesn't really matter. I've got more than enough. I'm on damage 5. Bahamut here is going to do, 15,000. I did have Amaterasu in hand. So I could have Amaterasu'd that samurai, but again, he still has enough to just Cyan cleave me, unfortunately. So I have to use Bahamut here to take these 2 forward, because I need 2 forwards to die. And again, but this uses my entire hand, right? So I'm like, well, this is it. I'm on damage 6. I'm totally thinking this is this game. There's no way I'm living through this. I believe he's going to pass back to me at this point. Yes, he does. Yep, so I went through it so fast. For my turn, I drew, and I passed right back. No forwards, absolutely nothing. But I did draw another Bahamut, because, again, I had no cards in hand. Here he comes. He's trying to end with this samurai. Again, any other haster here, there's no way I have enough to cleave this off. Luckily, he doesn't get it. Bahamut comes in, leaves me with 1 in hand, takes out his only forward. He now opts to play Tenzin, which is kind of nice, but also kind of, again, it's like, well, great, now he's just going to get more value. I've got to deal with this Tenzin again. Tenzin can get back on the other cards. He gets back the 14 Samurai, saying, if you put a forward out, I'm going to kill it. So, again, I have to do something about that. Finally, with 22 cards left in deck, here comes Crystal Mommy. I draw Glaciella. And she has just got a buttload of crystals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With her crystal on entry, I'll have 6 crystals to use, and I'm just ready to surefire burst into oblivion. Unfortunately for me, along with that other samurai, he has Amaterasu, so he kills Glaciella. However, of course, I'm just going to nuke the Tenzin on the way out. Like, well, all right. You know, I specifically paid for her by tapping 1 and discarding because I wanted to use as much water CP as possible. He kind of thwarts that because now I'm only going to use 1 of them. Of course, if I'd have known that, I would have just kept the extra card I pitched, but my theory is that, well, if she sticks around, I can just tap backups to take out whatever he wants. He, of course, gets a samurai back. He gets back Cyan. On his turn, he's going to just play the Cyan. I think he searches out a backup here. Yep, he searches out that other standard unit backup. He really wants that 3-cost standard unit that just nukes when he comes in. I don't blame him. Again, I don't have a forward. I don't have a forward, so I just pass right back to him. What I do have is Amaterasu. So on his turn when he attacks, Cyan's auto ability still triggers. Doesn't matter. I don't have anything on my board. So I just Amaterasu, kill the Cyan. Again, this whole time I'm just praying, well, I hope he doesn't pull a haste. But I can see he's got 2 Squall in the break zone. 1 Heian isn't damaged. The other 2 Heian are in the break zone already. So unless he surprises me with something, I think I'm okay with the haste. But this is just what I'm drawing. I'm in top deck mode, so I just have to play what I do. So Amaterasu, clean off the Cyan. Then he replays Tenzin again. This is the 3rd Tenzin. Now, the only thing that I'm thinking at this point is that, well, he is going through his deck very quickly. So maybe I can deck him out. Because, again, it's 6-1. I've got to put on such a defensive wall before I can even think to attack. And that is the hope. So on this turn, what I end up getting, I think I got Glaciella again. I drew the second one. Yes. This time he doesn't have Amaterasu. Even if he did, he couldn't cast it. But I think I see all 3 in the break zone anyway. Yeah, there they are. And that was the other thing, too, is that was my only saving grace was, again, looking at my damage zone. There's 4 backups in there. I've got 5 on the field. And I hadn't seen a single Glaciella up until a few turns ago. So I'm like, well, there's a good chance I'm going to draw into her. The nice thing, too, is that, well, not nice, but it's just one of the factors of this kind of thing is I no longer have to worry about losing a card to damage. If I take another point of damage, I'm toast. So he can't put a Glaciella into damage and then, oh, I can't use her because the game's freaking over. So Glaciella, once again, will take out Tenzin. The only problem being I know he has access to all these samurais that just nuke on entry. So Glaciella is pretty much dead here. Isn't a whole lot I could do. Oh, I do want to comment on the earlier Glaciella turn. Where is it? Was this 139? So let's go back a little bit. This play. Yep. So I could have, and they mentioned this on the chat, I could have technically used the Oracle to reduce the damage she takes by 1,000, and then Princess Sarah to buff her by 1,000. So she would have been 8,000, taken 7,000 from the Amaterasu. So she would have lived. And the reason I opted not to do that, one, I didn't want to lose the backup. More importantly, the last card I had in hand was fire. So if I do that, I can't surefire burst on his turn. And again, I've seen that he's gone to these standard unit samurais where he's just going to nuke me on entry. So I thought, well, if I can't even surefire burst on his turn, what's kind of even the point of saving her when she's just going to die on the next turn anyway? I feel like it would be more beneficial, again, to keep the backup, knowing I haven't seen any. This is my first Glaciella, so there's a good chance I'll just naturally draw into the other ones. So I just wanted to clarify my thinking on that play. Okay. So he draws into a Bahamut, unfortunately. He's just going to send Glaciella packing. Even though I've got the 2 backups ready to respond with Surefire Burst, there's nothing to respond to. He is going to put out a forward after this in the Cyan, but of course he smartly did the Bahamut first. So I could not counter. Now it's back to me. And what can I pull off of this? I end up playing Ceremobius, get a crystal, then I play Porum. I like Porum here because I'm thinking, well, I can at least prevent the cleave, right? And then Ceremobius can easily block this Cyan. So that'll be nice. And again, I'm threatening, hey, if you don't deal with this Porum, it's going to get big enough that, I'm going to outlive your burst. Unfortunately for me, he has Brynhildr and exactly enough to play it. I'm pointlessly blank the Cyan on the way out just because I have no follow-up for it. But yeah, very unfortunate for me. He still retains a card in hand and just gets rid of Porum immediately. I'm like, well, that sucked. So now he's going to use one of his backup samurais, I believe. Yeah, so he gives up one of his standard unit samurai backups to pull out the big samurai beater. My only play at this point is to spend 3 crystals on Ceremobius to avoid the damage. Someone pointed out in the video later, and I guess he hadn't thought about this, was that he could have, when I went to use the crystal effect on the stack, he could have brought in another samurai with his backup. He could have brought in an additional one to do another 9,000, so that way. But, so first of all, for those who didn't know, I was stacking one at a time. Yeah, I pointed all the crystals, but I was saying, crystal, is that good? Crystal, is that good? Crystal, is that good? I'm not just going to blow through all the crystals like that. I know better. So, assuming he lets them resolve, because the thing is, that he's not going to win that stack war. So even if he does that, if he breaks the other samurai to bring one in, like let's say he doesn't immediately. I go for a single crystal and he goes, cool, stack on top of that. And then I go, okay, stack 2 more crystals, get to 10,000. All that damage doesn't affect me. Or I do the 3, then he brings in the next one. And then again, I pop 1 more crystal. He'll get another crystal out of me, but then he's also giving up his final backup. So I don't know if he even saw that play, but even if he had, I can outstack him there. Unless I've missed something, I don't see how he can possibly outstack me in that line. So I bring out Palom. I also cast Brynhildr. I'm thinking this will be a nice easy shot. Palom plus Brynhildr, 7k enough to deal Cyan. Once again, he has his own Brynhildr. So, unfortunately, Palom is going the way of the dodo. These twins just cannot stick around. For everything I'm doing to survive, and it's insane I'm surviving right now, he is also just countering me every single turn, every single turn, every single turn. Nothing can live. Oh, it's so annoying. Now, at this point, he opts to spend his only crystal that he has for this Bahamut. He's like, you know what? I'm so sick of this. I'm just going to get rid of your board. And I don't have enough crystals. I could have technically used Ceremobius or used Princess Sarah, buffer by 8, spent 2 crystals. But guess what? I don't need to because I have another Ceremobius in hand, which is what I do. So I was like, okay, you kill her. I just put down the next Ceremobius, which was a dead card, but he gave me the out to use it. It reveals Orin. I've been putting the cards I reveal on the bottom. This time I leave Orin exactly on top because, again, I can't lose him to damage. If I lose, I lose. And I'm thinking, oh, Orin would be great. I can finally deflect all these pings. Now, Ceremobius has another 3 crystals, so I am ready to defend against certain things. He can also, however, just run the Samurai into me, even if he doesn't have removal, which is what I think he ends up doing. I don't think he actually draws any removal. He plays Gosetsu, gives it another 1,000 in Brave. At this point, I could sacrifice 3 crystals to trade for it. I opt not to. Again, I've got 13 cards left in deck. I'm thinking there's still a Glaciella. There's still Lenas I can see. I think it's the smarter play to hold on to these crystals. Will it be is a good question. They're talking about all kinds of things on the stream, popping down different standard units, popping them for extra stuff. You know, we could have popped one there to attempt to blow up the Ceremonious, but again, then I absolutely do pop the crystals and he can't do Gosetsu, whatever. Anyway, let's call the game as it is. So I get the Lena. He's only got 2 in hand. I know he can't frickin' Amaterasu this. So I go for Glaciella, if I'm not mistaken. I think I pay both here. Yeah, so I play Glaciella. Glaciella gets me back a crystal. Then I summon Gao as well. Gao gets me back a crystal. I considered the twins briefly. But I really want the crystal power at this point is what I need the Surefire Burst. That's my most reliable way of removal. And at this point in hand, I have an Orin, and I don't know what the other card was, but I know it wasn't water. So I've got 2 shots of Surefire Burst. I've got the Sarah and the Samurai backup I can tap, and then I've got the Orin. I really don't want to have to spend the Orin if I can, but that's what I do. I pass to him. I don't feel like there's a huge reason for me to do it on my turn. Everything I've seen from this deck, I just don't think I really need to. But yeah, so I pass back to him. And we might be on time in the round. I've been on 6 damage for a long time. Look at these deck sizes. He's down to 8 left. I'm down to 11. So he brings in this Samurai. He goes ahead and blasts. I think he's going to blast Glaciella here. I can use the Sarah to bump her, but she's not going to live. So I just say, okay, I just need to stay alive. Spend a crystal. Blow this Samurai to Kingdom Come. And I've done the math here that even if he pulls one back from the break zone, he can't kill me because he'll have to either kill the Gao or the Lena. The other one can block the Gosetsu still. He's going to die. Or he's not going to... Well, the Gosetsu will die and I'll live for one more turn. Live to fight another day, which is exactly what he ends up doing, I believe. Yep, there he goes. Cracks the backup. Brings this one back. He's going to nuke the Gao with this. I could have pitched the Orin to do one more Glaciella shot and taken out another forward. I could have prevented the Gosetsu from attacking, but that does give him a Samurai back to his hand. I could have hit this 8k one. I just didn't feel that was the right call. Again, I'm thinking another Lena's probably going to come up. Lena will at least trade with Gosetsu, and I really don't want to throw away that Orin. I'm thinking Orin could be my way out of this because, again, if he's got to waste all these burns on Orin, maybe I live. And he really has dug into his resources at this point. I might be top decking to save my life, but he just doesn't, he's burned so many Samurai backups. So he swings with Gosetsu. I have to block with Lena. They trade, but this does allow him to get Heian back. Which is, of course, what he's really been missing this whole time. If he had ever been able to drop Heian for any of these turns, I absolutely would have lost. And they were talking about that on the stream too, is that if he could have just overwhelmed me with forwards, because I was just dying for answers there. So now I know Heian's coming, which means I really have to get rid of these. He kind of forgot that, remember, Heian only gets haste if there are 5 total fire characters. So I'm thinking, well, if I can get rid of these forwards, there's no way he'll have enough for Heian to have haste. Like, I take a little time to count out the math, count up the backups, everything else. Ultimately, what I do is I play Terra, and I get back Bahamut. I debated Amaterasu, maybe even Brynhilde just to get me a little extra card draw. But yeah, Bahamut, I know, can blow both these guys out of the water, plus the Terra ping. And again, if they're not there, even if he drops Heian next turn, Heian can't attack. And if Heian can't attack, who cares about anything else? I believe I opt to pass here. I think that was turn 1, perhaps, or turn 0. Maybe this is turn 1. Yeah, I think this is turn 1. So he goes for his final standard unit, He drops it in, so of course I have to respond with Bahamut. I blow up the 2 that can attack, and so it's 15,000, trying to take out 16,000 worth of forwards, but Terra's Ping is there as well to cleave him off. So he's got 4 in hand, but his board is so empty, and at this point he's thinking, well, I got him because I've got Heian, but then he realized, oh crap, I don't have enough characters for Heian to have haste, and I told him, I was like, yeah, that's why I was counting up your cards and doing the math, because I was trying to see if I can Bahamut these 2, Heian doesn't have haste. So he is going to play out Heian here, which is still probably the right play to say, well, you still have to get rid of this, you've got to draw the answer, otherwise I'm going to get you next turn. I pull out Lena. This is my last turn of the duel because we are going to go to time. My choices are Gao, Porum, and Palom. I do consider Gao at one point. I only have 1 crystal to spend. But Gao is going to get me back that 1 crystal, and then I realized I had nothing to spend it on, so that seemed pointless. Palom is only going to let me do a 2k ping, which is like, could be okay, but just still doesn't seem... Porum ultimately, I think, seemed the best option because I can just turn the Heian off. I can also turn off the other samurai. I can make him lose 2,000 power. And then I pitched the last card in my hand for Orin, saying, well, what I can do is I can tap this Princess Sarah, have an 8k, an 8k, a 6k, and basically survive. Again, I can't... Not doing anything to him. So at this point... it's going to go away. So, John, time is over at this point. This is the final official turn of the duel, the match, whatever you want to call it. This is turn 3 in time. So this is Connor's last turn. He's only got 4 cards left in deck. So, unfortunately, John doesn't get to see what would play out. However, I'll just say this. He couldn't get through my barrier. I can use Porum to blank Heian. I can bump... and then the thing is, too, once Heian dies, and he kind of forgot this, too, the other samurai loses its ability. It doesn't have 3 samurais in the field, so it only becomes a 7k. So we looked at the deck, we looked at the state, and man, I'm just like, I'm kind of on fumes and adrenaline at the same time, if you've ever had that feeling, because he put me to damage 6 on turn 11. It's now turn 31, as you can see there in the bottom left-hand corner. So for the longest time, I mean, I'm just playing for my life. And it's not like I had full hands of cards. I was just top decking to save my life for so long there. I'm on fumes. We talk about it. We see what was coming. Connor is nice enough that he actually concedes to me. He says, you know what? You were going to win this. We even looked at the cards that were coming up. And yeah, he had nothing left. So once this turn was going to end, all of his forwards were going to be dead. I could have played Yuzuki on my next turn. He just had nothing left in the deck. The only thing he had left was a Cyan, which if he searched with it, he would then deck out. And then if he didn't search with it, I attack, and he takes the damage and decks out anyway. So I would have won naturally if it had gone to natural turns. Realizing that, Connor was kind enough to concede to me. So Connor, thank you. I appreciate that. Which now means I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that just shook everything out of me. Well, I've still got one more match to do. I'm not done yet. Now, I've got to go to the finals. And despite the fact that I'm tired and I'm worn down and I'm beaten and I'm just like mentally drained, a bit emotionally drained, I had a long day of work and I had to go through all that. That put me at 3-0, and Tyler Ray was also 3-0, so we had to do a tiebreaker match. This match is going to somehow be very different and somehow very much the same all at once. And you'll see what I mean. So he is playing a deck list that we saw at the Esper series that weekend. I believe Nick Schnell was piloting it, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a very interesting deck where it only has 2 backups in the entire deck. And your whole point is you find a turn 1 lock, whether that's through Celis or Emmett Selk or whoever it is. You declare backup. The only other backup in the deck is Cosmos, which he just pulled out of the deck. So turn 1, Celeste goes to get the lock, gets the Cosmos, and so now he's ready. Everything in this deck, it's like a Kieran deck. Everything's a 4 cost, or most everything's a 4 cost. So you really just need the 2 backups, and the Cosmos gives you the color fixing, so you can naturally play out anything you draw into. Now, Tyler opts not to pop the Cosmos down here, and people are even saying in chat, well, this is over. Like, I haven't even taken a turn yet, and people already think it's over for me. And I was like, geez, I mean, I didn't see these comments till later, but damn. But they think that he didn't plop it down because he had the other light card in hand, the light lightning. Not true. He just opted not to. I don't know why. I guess he was worried about What he could draw, I don't know. But I know what this deck is capable of. I saw it on the weekend. I know it's going to just try to rush me down. I'm still of the mindset, well, Celeste doesn't have anyone to party with right now. I'm just going to take it slow, put out the Sarah, get the Princess Sarah. I need to just take a little time to curve out. I have to get to a wall where I can stabilize. Go ahead, let Celeste hit me one time. I lose Elena. I have no crystals right now anyway, so I don't really care about that. And then he just goes in. He hits the Celtius. He's going to remove. He's got more than enough here. Still opts not to put the Cosmos down. I don't know if he just... Now, the thing is, Tyler had the benefit of seeing my last match on stream. So I don't know if he's thinking, I'm just going to pedal to the metal as fast as I can. Granted, I think Cosmos still kind of helps you do that. But I don't know. I haven't piloted this deck, so... Nonetheless... he doesn't hit a great hit off of Celtius. He can't pick Kieran. He can't pick Lightning either because it has to specifically be Ice or Fire. So he opts to go with Shantoto. So he can't hit the Kieran. He can't hit the Lightning. Lightning actually would have been potentially game over for me. But again, luckily he can't choose it. He gets back whatever he got back and he just pitches to me for the Cosmos. Now he's set. He also has the Celeste party attack online. And I know cannot let Celeste party attack. I have to do something about that because I can't either, one, let him get that Sabin back just for extra card advantage, or probably what he's going to do is just freeze my backups out. I put down the Princess Sarah. I make it Fire, if I'm not mistaken. And then knowing, again, I can't let the Celeste party attack, I am sitting... Now, it's kind of funny because chat will make a bunch of assumptions, but from this moment, maybe even the turn before, I have 4-cost Bahamut in hand. So I know if things get dicey, I can blow up 2 forwards if I absolutely have to. Trying to avoid it, trying to hold on to that CP, but especially once he puts me to damage 5, I can do that. Someone says if he top decks 0 miss, it's GG. Nope, absolutely not. I've got Porum, and I've got the Bahamut, so trust me, if 0 miss comes down, it's getting crushed. He top decks. He clearly doesn't have anything he wants, but now... Porum just turns off the Celeste. I can't stop it. He's going to hit me 3 times. He is going to swing in, but I prevent the party attack. Do hit a Terra, but I actually have 0 summons in my break zone. It's way too early. So there's the Amaterasu. I'm like, oh, damn, I would have liked that. And there's Palom, and I'm like, oh, Palom. I needed that Palom. So I'm pretty bummed I didn't pull that Palom. But after that, he just opts to pass. And then it will come back to my turn. Again, I think I absolutely made the right play. I cannot let Celeste get a party attack, freeze out my backups. I've got 6 in hand, 2 backups. Time for me to try to make a bit of a comeback. And there's no time for crystals in this game. It's time for twins. Wonder Twins, power, activate. It's time for them to sit there and get large. Because again, I know his deck is just full throttle. Kill me as quick as I can. I know it has no more than 2 backups. And so I'm like, if I can keep these twins alive, they're going to take over this game 100%. I get down that Moogle, so now I've gotten 2, I've got a fire and a water down and 1 backup. I got to play it right on curve. And because there's now 2 twins, Porum is big enough to send something to 1,000, which means Palom is also going to send something packing. Even if he drops down something like a Kieran, like, yeah, he can play another forward, but I can respond to basically anything he's going to do. And again, I still have Bahamut in hand. I purposely leave just enough. I can cast this Bahamut if I absolutely need to. He either had it from last turn or he top decked this card perfectly. Chime is a really good counter to the twins just because she can send 1 packing. Knock the other one out of commission. He opts to send Porum back to my hand, since probably because Porum had the bigger counters. In response, I have both of them hit Celeste. So Celeste goes bye-bye. You could argue maybe he should have sent Palom packing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know which twin do you fear more. Right now, everything he has on the field are entry effects, so you could argue the Palom is going to be worse than the Porum. But whatever. He hits me twice, puts me to 6 damage, so just like last game, I'm very quickly on damage 6. However... This one is obviously going at a very, very different pace, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm on damage 6 again. The good news is the Chime just returns Porum to hand. So absolutely, you know Porum's coming back down here. And again, no one in chat knew it because I never end up using the card. I've got that Bahamut in hand the entire time. So even if he'd somehow dropped a Haster there, Okay, well, pitch the hand, boom, Bahamut's going to blow everything apart, so there was no way he was going to finish me off on that turn. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think this Kieran deck runs any summons. I think it's legit the 2 backups and just GM out every forward possible. So here comes Porum, right back down. And this time, I know I'm going to need a little extra protection, unless I want to go in on the Bahamut. I put down Yuzuki. Again, he doesn't have any summons, so Yuzuki's pretty much saying, well, my twins are going to get stronger, and we're going to be harder to get through. So I feel pretty good here, despite being on 6 damage. And again, I have 3 in hand. One of those is Bahamut, and one of those is a fire card to play it. Every turn of this game, minus turn 1, I am ready to cast Bahamut if I have to. And I'm on damage 6, which means I'm doing 15,000 damage. So if I absolutely have to, Bahamut's taking out 2 forwards. People were calling for Squall here. Squall is a very good forward, and he has haste. Well, at least he does until Porum gets a hold of him. I see the Squall. No big deal. Palom's fully online. Porum just looks at him, and he's meaningless. He's a black belt. He just paid 4 CP for a body. So it's like, yep, doesn't matter. Your text is irrelevant, and Porum and Palom can just shoot any of the other ones. I think I opt to shoot Shantoto. I don't really want him to replay the Chime, but for the most part, I'm like, I don't think there's a big difference between Chime and Shantoto, but I opted for Shantoto just in case the Chime. Now here, he swings in. He knows I have to block. However, what he absolutely forgot is that Yuzuki reduces all water forwards take 2,000 less damage. So I can block with Yuzuki, and Yuzuki doesn't die. I'll only take 6,000 from the Chime, and he realizes, oh crap, he can't swing with the Celtius then, because then I just block with Porum. Porum also lives. He just attacked twice for absolutely nothing. If he had partied attack there, I'm still blocking with Yuzuki, but I will lose the Yuzuki, but then he also loses Celtius in return. I just have Palom go, bop, cast Faraga on Squall. Squall, thanks for coming. You did nothing. That's not your fault. How are you supposed to overcome twins? And I just pass. I've got 3 backups up. I am feeling good. If the twins have gotten to their point, yeah, I'm on 6 damage, but I'm showing right now. What are you going to do? You going to get through these twins? They're saying in the chat, perhaps Tyler should have played that Cosmos turn 1. Probably he absolutely should have. Would it have made a difference? I don't know. Again, they don't know I have that Bahamut this entire time, but maybe it does. Maybe he can play some extra card that he couldn't have played otherwise. You know, if wishes were fishes, and if there was a way to look back and could play the game out in the same pattern, just with that one small difference, what would have happened? So with the twins fully online, anything he plays is just going to die. I think the only thing he can play that I can't outright kill is a Kieran, because Porum can't target it, and Palom doesn't have enough to kill it. But again, I've also got Yuzuki, so it's like, even if he has some effect that could attempt to nuke me, it's not going to work. I don't know if he doesn't even, he tries to just pass the turn, so of course I go, okay, go ahead and take out Chime on the way out. Twins are just so ridiculous. He does try to flicker the Celtius with Renoa, but I have 3 backups up, and I'm playing fire. Can you guess what's going to happen? Amaterasu! You have been cancelled. Technically, I could have waited to see if, but I just didn't even want to have him flicker the Celtius. I'd already used the Palom, so I was like, it's fine. Just get rid of the Renoa. I'm going to kill Celtius. I don't really care if he casts another Celtius. It's blocked by the subscription there, but I put down the Samurai backup. I leave up the Moogle because I want access to both colors. Finally, Palom clears Celtius out of the way. I'm finally ready to start attacking. I don't think this deck has a ton of burst, but just in case, I want to be careful. I don't want to see these twins get thwarted. So I just attack once with Yuzuki and pass. Again, I'm saying anything you put down will die immediately, so have fun with that. Now, despite being on damage 6, I mean, I'm feeling great. I've got a 12,000 Palom, a 10,000 Porum, Yuzuki protecting both of them, 4 backups, and still 5 cards in hand. Yeah, as people are starting to say in the chat, okay, this is over. Like, there's no way. It's funny because they said it was over in Tyler's favor on turn 1, and yet my Twins certainly had something to say about that. Pitches X-Death. Shantoto opts to get back Chime, maybe? Yeah, he gets back the Chime. He knows Chime's one of the only real ways to answer the Twins. But it's really just a one-turn answer, right? So Palom, I just go ahead and bop the Shantoto. He doesn't opt to play the Chime that turn. My turn, I am feeling pretty good. I like to spot him in. Again, don't want to just go overly aggressive, but knowing he's got a Chime and just knowing how this deck runs. Again, it doesn't have summons. It's all of its forwards are probably going to have on-entry effects. Anything that would need to attack is never going to get to attack. So I swing twice. I couldn't lethal him this turn anyway, but I am going to present lethal for next turn. And just in case it's time for a little removal. And again, because I know how this deck works, I'm not afraid of a board wipe. I don't have to fear Susano or, he's not playing Shantoto or Philia or anything like that. I mean, maybe he is. I don't 100% know the list, so maybe he snuck one in there. But it seems highly unlikely. I'm not anticipating that. Twins are getting absolutely massive. 10 counters on Palom, 8 on Purim. I put down Glaciella. I've got the backups up just in case, because I've still got 5 cards in hand. What are you going to do here, sir? I believe he opts to Chime. There comes John piping in the... I believe... Yeah, okay, so he played Chime. Chime bounces Palom with the more counters, freezes Purim. Again, I just blast it with... Or no, he freezes Glaciella. I just go ahead and blast it on the way out with Palom. This will keep him alive for one more turn, as I no longer have enough attackers. He plays Lightning, which Lightning is a good card if he'd seen her earlier and been able to use like his Dull effect or the bounce perhaps. But at this point, I have 8 cards in hand, 4 backups. I mean, I can kill this Lightning with anything. Glaciella can do it. I can just bring Palom back down and have Palom Purim Wonder Twin combined to do it. I could use that Bahamut that I've still got in hand that I haven't thrown out just in case. So, and he has no cards in hand. Again, this deck, it doesn't have the ability to just sit there and funnel resources, and that's what I opt to do. Palom for 2,000, Purim reduced to 1, lose abilities, bye-bye. I can hit him twice. I'm feeling pretty confident about it. Again, I don't think this deck runs a ton of EX bursts. Maybe it doesn't even have any. Obviously, it has the Lightning. I don't know what else it would even have. Maybe a Terra. But there's no summons in the deck, so probably not that. Yeah, so yeah. Not worried about an EX burst. Even if it was a Lightning and she bounced something, I can just immediately replay it in main phase 2. He's going to be top decking 2 cards. I just play a card from my hand to put down Lakshmi to draw another card. Just saying, what are you going to do? What are you going to draw off of 2 cards? John's there in the corner. Yeah, he puts down, what did he put down? He puts down an Setzer, which makes me discard. I say, okay, you can have a discard. Boom. Kill him immediately with the Twins. And that's it. Twins go in for game. And yeah, that match was a lot quicker than the first one. Absolutely. Which is nice. Got some huge counters at one point. And man, I just had to hold on. I was definitely like, oh my god, I'm at 6 damage again. But the Twins showed up big there. Absolutely showed why they can just, I mean, they can prey on good decks. Not that this isn't a good deck, but this deck has one plan, right? This deck doesn't have a fallback plan for the late game. It's aggressive. I'm going to kill you in 3 turns. So if I stabilize, it's probably over for this deck. I guess, especially with something like Twins, where I can just blast it over and over again. So there you go. Burning Wet Crystals takes it, and that is my 3rd RVA victory. I look very fondly on this one just because I was so close to dying so many times. I also had to overcome Chocobo Joe in the 2nd round, and I'd never beaten him before, and this was my first victory against him. So that felt really nice. Yeah, it was a tough night. Really had to push myself to the limit to get there, but we got there. It was nice to test the deck out. Awesome. If you saw any plays you think I could have done better, let me know. I'm always looking for improvement. If you have suggestions for my opponents too, things you think they could have done better, awesome, let us know. Let me know what you think. And as always, until next time, take care.